Hello, welcome to this video where I'm going to be swatching all of my brown adjacent blushes. Before we get into it, I think you can see the amount of brown blushes I have is quite shocking. I didn't know I had so many until I started going through it. So I just want to say that no one needs this amount of blushes. I don't recommend actually that you have this amount of blushes, especially cream blushes, because this is all gonna go bad before I could possibly use it. So yeah, I don't want this to encourage you to overspend or to buy stuff you don't need. I'm just doing this as a resource because I know that brown blushes are harder to find in the market. You know, people usually are like talk about pink blushes or red blushes or even purple blushes. I feel like brown is kind of forgotten. So yeah, this is just me using my collection as a resource, but if I could go back in time, I would not have this many blushes for sure. Also, I want to say that some of these are not necessarily just like pure brown, but they do have a little bit of red or a little bit of purple in them, but I would still consider them to be in the brown family. The only category of like brown neutral blushes that I'm not including here are like the warm peachy ones, because I feel like those are really easy to find. You know, peachy blushes are very common. So if I feel that like they really are peachy or like read as peach on my face, I did not include them. Most of these are going to be cream blushes, although I decided to include some powder blushes because whenever I talk about blushes, I get requests to include powder blushes. So I'm going to include some powder blushes, but I just want you to know that I haven't really bought powder blushes in a while because pretty much once I got into cream blush, that was all I could think about. So a lot of the powder blushes I have here are a bit older, but I'm pretty sure they are all still available. I have some other brown blushes that I love, but are completely discontinued, and I'm pretty sure you would never be able to find them. So because I don't want to tempt you, I am not going to include those. So yeah, there might be some discontinued stuff here because I don't know everything off the top of my head, but I tried my best to only include the ones that are still available. I'm gonna try to swatch them by like lightest to darkest and like the most similar to each other, but you know, I will definitely make some mistakes, okay, because it is a lot. I'm gonna start with the powder ones just because I have a lot less, and then we're gonna go into the cream blushes. Okay, so this is what I have for the powder blushes. As I said, I have a lot more actually, but I did not want to include any discontinued shades because I really did not want to tempt you because some of them are really pretty. So I only have these 6, which I believe are all still available. So here we have Essence, the blush, in the shade 20 Bespoke, Pixi in the shade Beach Rose. These are both from the Balm. We have the Balm Desert, which I believe is called a bronzer blush, but to me this is a blush. I think for a lot of people this could be a bronzer. Balm Beach, M Cosmetics, Rococo, and Kosas Contrachroma, and this is the light one, I believe. So yeah, let's get started. So first we have the Essence one. Okay, let me see if I'm in frame. I think you can see this one is a true brown. It has a little bit of a glow to it. I don't know if you can see. Then we have the Pixi one called Beach Rose. This one definitely pulls a little bit more rosy, but I would still say it is a neutral. Then we have the Balm Desert, and this is probably like one of the first brown blushes that I tried, and that made me feel like, oh wow, this is really pretty. This one is slightly more cool toned. Okay, this is Balm Beach. This one is definitely also more rosy, but I still think that on some people it could look very neutral. But I think you can see it is the lightest of them all and definitely has some pink in it. Okay, this is M Cosmetics Rococo. I never know how to pronounce it because in Portuguese I would say Rococo, but then Rococo sounds bizarre. I also have the other one from this line that is like more of a neutral. I got way too much. But the other one, I forgot what it's called, that pulls like very peachy on me. Baroque, I think. That is the one that truly looks like a brown on me. And then the last powder one we have is Contrachroma from Kosas. This one to me is very similar to the Balm, what's it called? The Balm Beach, because it also has some pink in it. I just want to do a heavier swatch. But I find that on my cheeks it does read more like a brown. Okay, I think this is a better swatch. Okay, now I'm gonna get into the palettes and the shades that I have in the magnetic palettes. Before we get into it, I want to point out one thing about this Danessa Myrics palettes, because I feel like when this came out, we kind of talked about it, but then we stopped talking about it. This palette is called the Luxe Cream Palette, and she has two versions of this. This one is the more neutral one. I feel like my light's kind of washing it out, but I think you can see here. And when she came out with this palette, the name is different. It's called the Dewy Cheek and Lip Palette. So I bought all the palettes because I've been wanting them for a long time, only to realize that it's the exact same formula and the exact same shades. So if you have this Luxe Cream Palette, you have all the shades in the Dewy Cheek. And actually these are all dewy. I don't know why she calls these matte. She has this a matte color for eyes, lips, and cheeks, but it's not matte. It's definitely dewy, and it's definitely sticky. It is not my favorite formula. I feel like it works best. I don't know, I just hate how my light's washing these out. Anyway, maybe I can open it. I think this might be better. Yeah. Anyway, this is not my favorite formula. It's very dewy and like sticky, but it is definitely versatile, and I do think that if you want to have like a variety of browns, this palette here, it's gonna kind of give it all to you. I'm just gonna swatch a few shades. I think I'm gonna swatch the shades in this palette, which is the one that I reach for the most when I want to use it. So this shade here, it's like, this one is kind of a peachy. I wouldn't necessarily consider this one a brown, but I'm just gonna give you a swatch so that you can compare. But yeah, it's like even hard to spread. It's because it's like a sticky formula. I feel like you either love this or you hate it. Personally, I wouldn't repurchase this, but since I have it and I do love the colors in here, I use it. But yeah, I just don't think it's a very user-friendly formula because it's so like waxy. I don't know how to explain it. It's like very sticky, and I don't know if you can hear it. It's just very sticky. Okay, I'm not gonna swatch the other two, but maybe I can swatch this one, although I think this one pulls a bit purple. I feel like it's very editorial makeup, not so much for you to use and walk around, you know. This shade is definitely my favorite because it is the most true brown here. Then we have the e.l.f. Active Lip and Cheek Palette. This is also discontinued, but I think a lot of people might have this palette, and it has a beautiful brown in here. This third shade here, it's like a beautiful chocolatey brown. And this one is much less sticky than the Danessa Myrics one. Yeah, this one, like, on my cheeks feels very comfortable. This is a really heavy swatch. I also have this palette from Seraphine Botanicals. It's the Primrose. Wait, what? It's the Lip and Cheek Cream Palette in Primrose? Is that how you pronounce it? And this shade here. Although I feel like now when I put it next to that brown one, it looks quite more rosy. But it is a really nice formula. It's very thin and it's like not sticky at all. Oh god, I got it on a marble. It's actually a really nice formula. That is the only shade I use from that palette, as you can see. Now I want to swatch some of my Salt New York. I think I want to do Cocoa. Is this Cocoa? Yeah, I think Cocoa is the most brown. Maybe I'll do Maple as well. Maple definitely has some more purple in it than cocoa. I don't know if you can see. I feel like my light is washing these out. So this is cocoa. And the Salt New York formula is also like more on the thin side, also not really sticky. Feels very comfortable on the skin. So this is cocoa. I'm trying to give like an even swatch. These don't swatch very well, but they apply on the cheeks beautifully. Even the darker shades work really well on me. So this is cocoa and this is maple. Maple has a little bit more purple in it, or like pink. So I think you can see they don't swatch very well because they are more sheer. Okay, I think this is better for you to see. I'm not sure you can see the color very well. Then from Kjaer Weis, I feel like this is the most brown I have, although it is also not exactly brown. This is Desired Glow, also one of my favorites. Kjaer Weis formula is just very nice, but I think you're gonna see here that it's a lot more peach than the other shades. But I do think that this is one that reads very neutral on my face. I want to swatch Abundance as well. Abundance is like a purple shade. This is such a unique shade, but it looks really good on my skin. And I think like if you have my skin tone, this could also read like a brown on you, even though it's more of a purpley, bruisey kind of shade. I think my camera is making it look a little more brown than it is. It definitely has like a purple vibe to it, but it's a very, very unique kind of shade. I have a few others in this family from Inc Delphine. I'm also gonna swatch Inner Glow because Inner Glow is also very similar to Abundance. It's just lighter. I personally love them both. Okay, I also wanted to include this shade here from Rose Inc. It's Delphine. It's the closest thing to a brown I think that they have. Yeah. Everything else I think it's just very, just like more saturated. Maybe I'll also include Heliotrope, but Heliotrope is definitely more pink. I already swatched Delphine because my camera wasn't filming. But here is Heliotrope. I think you can see it's more pinky. But I know lots of people love Heliotrope because it's quite of a neutral pink. I also really like this formula. So the first one from the individual ones, it's gonna be this one from NYX. It's the soft cheek tint blush mousse. The Sweet Cheeks in the shade Nude Tude. This is one that like if I could go back in time and redo my collection, this is one that I would definitely purchase. It is like a moussey formula, and I do think that it is a bit more of like a cool toned shade. Oh, this was way too much product. I didn't know what I was thinking. But it is, oh, okay, wait. It is really beautiful, really easy to work with. I have no complaints about this. I love it. I use it all. This might be one of my most used blushes. And I feel like finding more brown shades in the drugstore is much harder than finding it with more high-end brands. Look at that horrible swatch. Anyway, I do feel like this is like one of the most easily accessible brown blushes that you can find easily. Then we have this one from Ciate London. It's the Dewy Blush Glossy Chick Tint in the shade Coconut. This is not going to be for everyone. This is a very dewy formula, and it is on the sheer side. So I do not recommend building it up, otherwise you're going to be like a slimy mess. And if you, I mean, depending on the base you have, it could potentially mess with it. So I do know that this is not going to be everyone's cup of tea, but I actually do like it, especially if I'm just doing like a very simple look with just like concealer. I will apply a little bit of this and it looks pretty, but you cannot build it up. It is sheer and it kind of is what it is, you know. If you want a super blushy look, this is not going to be it. But it is also a very beautiful brown. This is like, I mean, a heavier swatch. I'm trying to like realistically show you how it would look like on the cheeks. I think you can see. It's very sheer, and this is kind of what you're gonna get when you wear it. I have two from Glossier that I think could fit in this brown category. The first one is Dusk, which I think that like this color in the packaging really does not like show how well the color is. It is definitely more brown than, you know, this peachy packaging. Did I say it's Dusk? I don't remember. Anyway, it's a really pretty milky brown. There is definitely some peach in it, but I think it is really pretty. And then the other one is a Storm. This Storm definitely has a little bit of purple in it, but I also think that the color on the packaging does not fully translate to the color of the product. It's more brown, I think, than it looks. Oh, that was too much. I also really like this Glossier formula. It's like really easy to work with for being a liquid blush. So yeah, this is Dusk and Storm. Then we have Flower Beauty Cinnamon. This is the most brown of the shades I have from them. It's really pretty too. I think it's going to be similar to Dusk. I do prefer the Glossier formula to the Flower Beauty. I find that sometimes the Flower Beauty one can be hard to blend out. But this shade in particular I have no issues with. I did declutter a like berry shade I have from them because I had a hard time. Okay, this is Flower Beauty Cinnamon. I'm trying to do like an even swatch, but I feel like they just keep getting more ugly. Okay, I think this is the best I can do. I think it is similar to Dusk, but I do prefer the color of Dusk. I think Dusk has a little bit more rose in it. Then we have Say Spicy. This is one that definitely has like a burnt terracotta vibe to it, but I still think it is quite brown compared to like some of the other terracotta ones I have. I think you can see it there, right? I also really like this formula. It's quite dewy, but because it is very pigmented, you don't have to apply a lot of it to get the color. So I think, you know, it's a little more user-friendly, for example, than coconut. It's just so glossy and so sheer that you end up running the risk of like removing your foundation. This one, the same one, doesn't do that for me. I think you can see this one is spicy. And then I want to include one that I think for a lot of people this would not be a blush shade, but I love using this as a blush or as like a mix-in blush. And this is the Danessa Myrics Vision Flush in Nutcracker. I think for some people this would just be a contour, but if I just apply a little bit of it, I think. Now I'm gonna do these nude sticks ones, and I think that some of these are supposed to be bronzers, but I don't care. I use them as blushes. So the first one here is Nude Buff from the Nudies Matte Luxe formula. This one definitely has some pink in it, but I still think it is quite brown. But yeah, definitely has some pink in it. Don't think that this is like a true brown. And I like this formula. It's like a velvety matte formula. And then I think these two are bronzers. Yeah, they both say bronze color, but they're blushes on me. The first one I have here is Sunkissed. These are like heavy swatches, okay? Because I'm putting just straight with the stick. You can definitely shear them out on your skin. And then the other one is Deep Maple, which is probably one of my favorites. think has a little bit more purple in it compared to Sunkissed. Then we have this one. This is a super cheap one. It's probably the cheapest of them all. This is the AOA Studio Hush Cream Sheer Blush in the shade Demure. This is $1. I also really like their sponges. So yeah, this is Demure. I think you're gonna see it looks quite warm compared to the other ones, like quite more orangey. But I do think that this one on my cheeks reads as a brown. I think it's just because these ones are more cool toned. I have this one from Tower 28, which is Power Hour. This is definitely like similar to the Say Spicy one in the sense that it's like that terracotta red kind of shade. But I mean, this is like the closest thing I think that they have as a brown blush. So I just wanted to include it. I also really like this formula. I don't know if I said it. This is Power Hour. I think it ends up being similar to these ones here. Maybe it has a little bit more purple in it than those. Then I have this Patrick Ta one in the shade She's So LA. There's something about this that I just don't know. I just don't reach for this one a lot. I have to pull it out more often. So this is the powder. It's really pretty, and it's also like a really like true cool toned brown almost. It's really hard to find, you know, shades like this in the market, but I just don't know why. I just don't really use this one very much. And this is the cream. And this is the cream. Yeah, this one is so pretty. I just don't know why I don't reach for it. I have two from Fenty. Actually, one of these is was limited edition, but I want to include it anyway. This is Fenty Glow, which is the one that I think is limited edition, and it is kind of like a warm brown. It is like the shiny formula that Fenty has, where has like some sparkles in it. But I really like it on my cheeks. I don't think that the sparkles look weird. Let me just build it up a little bit. Yeah, I think that this was like a holiday. I don't know. Sometimes they bring back the shade, so that's why I'm including this one here. But I think you can see it definitely reads more orange next to the Patrick Ta one. And then the other shade is Rose Latte. This one is part of their collection. Really like this one. This one is also in the same vein as Power Hour from Tower 28, this one. Or Spicy from Say, because it has that purpley red terracotta, not terracotta, sunburned look to it. I don't know what color this is. I'm really terrible at explaining colors, but you see this one and this one, they are similar. They have the same vibe. And this one is the cream formula. It has no sparkles in it. This is MAC So Natural. I was debating including Blush Please, but I feel like Blush Please is not really brown. I think this one is closest to a brown than Blush Please. But I also really like Blush Please. I feel like this is going to be the lightest of them all, almost like a peachy pink compared to these. But if you have a fair skin tone, I think this can really work. This one on me is just very, very, very natural because it's so light. Okay, it wasn't recording. Anyway, I just watched the Juice Beauty Flush at the top here. I really like this formula. I feel like it's a pretty underrated formula. I don't see many people talking about this cream blush formula. And then this one is Kjaer 07 Spicy. And I think you can see that the Juice Beauty one has a bit of rosiness to it, while the Kjaer one is pretty much like a slightly warm brown. Then we have these from Half Caked. I think one of these is a bronzer and the other one's a blush, but I use them both as blushes. This one is You're So Last Summer. I think this one is a bronzer. Anyway, I still like it as a blush. These ones are a bit on like the sticky side, but they're not terribly sticky. I think this is such a pretty color. And the other one is Velvet Tiger. This one might be my favorite. This one has definitely some pinky purple vibes to it. Oh yeah, that is the most pinky purple of all of these. But I don't know, I still think it has a lot of brown in it to be in this category. My cat is thinking of coming over, but I think it has decided against it. I have these ones from Can Make that I think all could fit in this category. So this one is number 17. And this one has that like red terracotta vibe to it. This one is number 20. This one is similar to the one from Half Cakes, the Velvet Tiger, I think. Yeah, where it has that purpliness to it. Let me see if I can build it up a little bit. Okay, I think this is the best I can do. Then my favorite is number 19. This one is like a milky chocolate. It's just such a beautiful color. I think you can see. So there's 17, 20, and 19. Okay, let's see if I can fit these two more. This is Melt Lynx and Sundown. Lynx, I think, is very similar to Kosas Tropic Equinox. I used to have that one, but it went bad, so it's gone. But yeah, this formula from Melt is so nice. It's creamy. This one has a little bit of a glow to it, but I think it has that very similar tone to Tropic Equinox. Definitely on the warm side. Going to build it up a little bit. And then I think Sundown also goes in the same vibe. It's a little darker. But I think you can see it's very similar. Okay, this is Lynx and this is Sundown. Okay, now I think these are the last ones. I have a bunch here from Rituel de Fille and Phytosurgeons, and I do think these two brands have a lot of like brown adjacent shades. I'm gonna start with the Phytosurgeons ones. The first one is Condensate, which is really cool toned. This one does not look great on its own on me. I either have to apply a very sheer layer of it, or I just mix it in with other stuff to make them more cool toned. It's a great mix in, you know, if you have like a really warm blush and you just want to cool it down. You can just kind of add a bit of this to it and it works beautifully. So this is Condensate. Then this one is Evaporate. This is probably one of my most used blushes. So you can see Evaporate pulls a lot more warm and it's a lot more wearable for me on its own. And then the last one that I chose to include is Exothermic. And this one is like that, like there's a lot of purple in it, but I can wear this one on its own. This one reminds me of the Kjaer Weis, like the what's it called, the Inner Glow, the Embrace ones. Those, I feel like they're a similar tone to this, although this one's a little bit darker. The last ones are all from Rituel de Fille. First here we have Lust, which I think is similar to, which one did, what was it? Exothermic. The Rituel de Fille ones are a bit more matte than the Phytosurgeons ones. Then I have Intuition. Intuition is similar to the Danessa Myrics ones. This one, the Nutcracker, in the sense that it's pretty much a contour shade, but I also like using it as a mix-in or on its own, but I think you can see it's really gray. Oh, I did it way too close to the other one. This is like a stiffer formula. So this is like a sheer application of it. Condensate really looks like a blush when you have it close to this one. Then I have Arrows, which is a brown. And this one looks really good on me if I apply a small amount. If I apply too much, then it just looks weird. But if I apply a little bit, it looks beautiful. And this, I think this is like probably the most true brown that I have in this group. Then we have Desire, which is definitely more purple, but I still wanted to include it. And the last one is Hornet, which I don't know if it was limited edition or not, but it is their more glowy formula. What is it called? The Colored Nectar Pigment Balm. Oh, I need to build it up a bit more. But sometimes they bring these discontinued shades back in case it is not available. They tend to just bring them back. So yeah, I feel like this is like the coolest selection of shades from all of the arms I had in this video. This is it. I hope that this was helpful. If you have a favorite brown blush that I didn't talk about here, please let me know in the comments, as I would love to discover more brown blushes, even though I am on a no buy right now. As you can see, I do not need any new blushes. That's it. I'll see you on my next one. Bye bye.